know a couple of people.
Shout out to the BET family in the front right here.
Shout out to BET. It's not on BET, but it's on another platform called EYL, so the whole world gonna see it.
We learned from you.
Touche.
We kind of big on ownership.
Touche. I bow. But you can be on BET and still own.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Shout out to BET. Let's cut this check.
It's awesome.
So let me ask you this, because you said something that you only believe in like paying cash and stuff, and I believe that
Not anymore. That was in the beginning.
Okay.
That was the mentality of coming from being broke and having the pathology of you can't get more money until all the money is gone. That's what happens to us as people. It's like, I gotta wait for Friday, I gotta wait to get that check 2 weeks. But that's a pathology that we were taught, that subconsciously, that you can't get more money until all your money is gone. So I always wanted to, when I started in the beginning, everything had to be, I had to pay for it, because I didn't want the debt, I didn't want to be in owing anyone if something went wrong. So yeah, in the very beginning, that was the way that I ran my business, which was really a good way to do it, because I never had any issues, I was never stressed about anything. But now, sometimes when you talk about scaling, you scale up so far, you realize the power of having the debt. You realize the power of the tax breaks in the debt. You realize the power of using other people's money and still owning when you have the power.
That's not a lesson that everybody's taught. And so we kind of briefly spoke about it backstage, but at what point did you realize, like, wait, I need somebody to educate me on taxes and all these types of structures that go on inside of the business, right? We think like, oh, I made $1 million, I got $1 million. Nah, that's not how this works. So at what point did you realize that?
First time I made money, the first year I think I made I went from having no money at all, broke and homeless, to my plane ticket off. First year I made like $100,000, and got to the end of the year and had no money. I had given it all away, because there's a certain amount of guilt that comes. I don't know if other races have this, but there's a guilt that comes with us when we have success if we don't carry everybody along with us at the same time. But let me tell you the danger of that. You try and pile a bunch of people in your boat, and all these people are putting holes in your boat, and you're trying to get somewhere, they all gonna go down with you. And some people are okay with that, but I'm not. I'm like, the only way I'm gonna be able to help you is I've gotta build this boat myself. I gotta go over there and get what we need, and then I'll send it back for you. But I gotta go by myself, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? So having the understanding of money wasn't something that I had. Nobody had taught me that the taxes are gonna be due, the bills are you have to pay this, and you have to pay that. I didn't go to college, but I paid for Harvard probably 100 times over in the mistakes that I made. I remember this one guy, I shouldn't say this, but I'm gonna say it. He worked for the IRS, and he passed by the studio in Greenbrier every day. He just was so adamant about, what am I doing? What am I doing? I got to be doing something wrong. And he wanted to come see my house and sit down and talk to me. IRS guy. Anyway, I'm like, there's no way it's gonna happen. I had him removed off the case. His boss took over the case because I was being audited. So this audit went on for 3 years, and I'm spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in accountants for the audit. And I was getting so mad and so frustrated. I was like, why the hell is this going on? What is it? And what I realized in my frustration is that, wait a minute, there's something to learn here. Sit back and just see where it goes. We get to the end of the audit, and the IRS owed me $9 million. They owed me $9 million. And all my accountants come running and say, oh my God, isn't that great? Isn't that great? I was like, hell no. How did you miss me paying $9 million? So I had to stop going to H&R Block for my taxes. Get it. But that actually happened. So I learned in progress, and it's okay. Listen to me. In business, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to learn, to have to learn, but do learn. Don't let it keep happening over and over again. And that's one thing about me. I'll let you make a million mistakes, but you can't do the same thing over and over again. And that's how I run my business. Okay, here's the mistake. Let's fix it. Let's move forward.
So That's interesting because most people, the IRS story is the other way, where they ended up owing millions of dollars to the IRS. In fact, if the government owed you $9 million, what did they do? Your accountants just missed everything on the books to deduct, or?
It wasn't even that they missed it, it's that they had me paying things that I could have gotten deductions for, but they didn't know. They didn't understand that, oh no, you can do, when you reach a certain tax bracket, see, this is what the rich folks don't tell y'all. There's so many things that they do, I was like, what the hell is that happening? That you can take tax breaks on certain things that we had no idea about because, you know, we're black folks who had never had that experience. And I remember having somebody work for me who I bought in these accounting firms, and these were all white people. And they were so angry that I bought in these white people work. I'm like, what are you doing? They have the knowledge. They have the knowledge, they have the thing that we don't understand. So if you don't like it, there's the door. This is the way we're going. But I'm telling you, you've got to be open to working with everybody because the amount of information that I learned to help me go forward was something that has changed the trajectory of my whole company. So don't just be about, I'm only going to work with black people, only going to work with black people. If somebody who is not black has the knowledge, get the knowledge and bring it back to the black people so you have it.
That's what I'm listening. Now, Steve Harvey brought this up yesterday, and it's something that you've really mastered, and that's blocking out noise. And you can reference like Spike Lee has said some things, but I wonder at what point or what technique do you use to block out the distractions of the noise that's consistently, or at some points in your career, that's just been around while you're actually doing things for our community? How do you just channel in and block out the noise?
I had one or two choices. I could focus on the people and the success and the people who loved it, or I could focus on the naysayers who hate it and haters who don't really give a damn anyway. You're right. They're not there to support or to champion. They're there to be what they are, haters and noisemakers, right? But what is most important, and I want you to hear me in this, I had a goal, and if your eyes are up there on the goal, like right now, I'm looking up at the top of the ceiling there. I don't see what's going on down here because my focus is there. And when you have noise and naysayers and people, and I've had a lot, I'm sure you have too, who are telling you what you can't do, it's not going to work, or you should be better, you should do this, you should do that. And the goal is to get to a place where you are financially stable, where you can open a studio, where you can hire all these people. If I had taken my eye off of that for 1 minute to stop to argue with this person, or stop to defend myself with this person, or stop to, none of that was something I was willing to do. Because in order to take my eyes off it, I would miss something and have a wreck. It's like driving a car at 80 miles an hour. You're looking down at your cell phone, you're gonna run into something. Keep your eye on where you're going. Let people say what they want, that's okay. You don't have to answer to everything. And let me tell you something, the hardest thing to do when you have success is to keep your mouth shut when people are saying all kinds of BS about you. That's the hardest thing to do, because I'm about to say the N-word, but I'm a guy from the third ward in New Orleans, and I can scrap with the best of them. But to keep my eyes and my mind and my focus on what God has for me has always been the goal. And I promise you, the very ones that were saying all of those things have come back around to say something else. You gotta be patient. You gotta be patient.
So, you know, you're interesting for a few different reasons, but I feel like you're a creative and, you know, actor, director, but you're also a business mogul, and that's rare because a lot of creatives, they never really get the business out of it, especially how you're like the ultimate executive at the same time. So talking about the real estate play and going back to the financing, when you're buying this lot, 330 acres, and you're putting on, I'm assuming this costs hundreds of millions of dollars. So was the financing through all you? Was it private equity firms getting involved? Was it venture capital? Like, how was the financing done? Because you have full ownership of this, right?
100%.
So how'd you do that?
People like this. I learned, listen to me, I learned very early, this is again about blocking out the noise. I learned very early the power of us. I was on tour performing 300 something performances a year, making $75, $80 million from us. This thing that a lot of elitist black people want to look down on called the Chitlin Circuit. Why are you doing it? Chitlin Circuit. But what they're missing is the power of the black dollar. and how when the black dollar shows up, it shows up in an enormous way. So when I got to Hollywood, I didn't need to ask anybody for money. I didn't need to ask them to give me a green light on the film, because I had us, and I still have us. That's why Sisters and The Oval and Ruthless and Zatima, soon to come, all these shows on BET are doing so well because I had us. So I haven't been in a position where I've had to use private equity or money like that. But anybody who does that, I think that's great, as long as you hold on to the ownership and the majority of what's happening.
So you self-funded it?
Yes.
That's amazing. Clap it up for that.
That 338 is a phenomenal thing, but when we toured it, I saw the fence go up, and I looked on the other side. There's communities being built around it. So not only have you created an ecosystem for your studio, but you actually appreciated the new neighborhood that's being around the studio. So clap it up for that as well.
Which is good and bad, because what happens is people start to just buy the houses and start to move people out, which is always problematic. You know, when industry comes in. When Fort McPherson closed, it left that entire area decimated. Like people, it was a hub for all the businesses around. So to be back there and bring the life in again, I'm just watching very closely to see what happens with people who've owned their houses for a very long time. I'm hoping that they hold on to them and not walk away for a quick buck, because the longer you hold on to it, the more value they're going to have as we continue to grow.
So in 2017, you signed a deal with Viacom. Shout out to Viacom and BET, obviously, to create 90 episodes of TV and content each year. I wonder, because we create content. Where's the vision still come at this level of success? What still inspires you to create at this level?
You know, again, at this point, you know, I've got a 7-year-old who I want him to have everything in the world. I don't want to give it to him, but I want him to earn it, right? And know that his dad did and he can do it too. So he's the motivation at this point. And having people like Crystal stand up, Crystal Renee Hazelwood, who plays Fatima on the shows down in front row. Having people like her that hadn't had a chance or an opportunity, that's the motivation still. Like I got a text from one of the guys who works for me. He and his fiance, they bought their first house. He was in jail for 7 years. He works as a grip in electric on the show. So that's the inspiration at this point. And because what else is the reason to do it if I'm not going to be able to do it to inspire, to uplift, to encourage people to do amazing things. And to have this Viacom deal, to be working at BET, it's been the most. It's been the busiest I've been in my life, but again, watching all of these people come to work, it makes me go, okay, you're good, keep going. Yeah.
You stake in BET Plus, I believe, and part of the deal is that you have to create 80 episodes of new content a year. Is that correct? Before I go further, did I get that right?
I'm having trouble hearing you. I wish I could turn the monitors up a little bit on the stage so I can get you. But you were, what was the first part of it?
So the deal is $150 million a year, right? Having trouble here?
Wait, is this a camera over here?
That's on the low end, yeah. That's the low end.
All right. So, what made you want to do a deal with Viacom? Being that you've been independent and you're still independent, what was appealing to you to say, okay, this makes sense in a partnership?
Well, it was the same thing with Oprah. And guys, I wouldn't say turn him up, just the monitors on the stage are facing us. I'm sorry, I'm still producing. Sorry. It was the same, you know, as the deal with Oprah. I have a very loyal fan base and audience that wants to see what I have to offer, right? So BET had a need, I had a need. I'm looking for a partner because after working with Oprah, that deal was up. I was ready to do something different, and I wanted to scale up, and I wanted to be with a corporation that could handle the scale that I wanted to bring, and they were able to do that. So I always look for partners who can meet me at where I am and where I am now, but also where I want to scale up to go. And they were definitely ready. I tell you, I've done more episodes. In 5 years, you usually do 5 seasons, right? We've done 5 seasons in 3 years of all these shows on BET, but they're working, so we're really excited, so we keep going.
That's incredible. So you've been leading up to a deal like that, right? That's a massive deal, right? and you're fighting for your independence on this journey. I mean, it's still Hollywood is predominantly white men. All the studios are owned by white men, but you're still fighting for independence. And so, what was that challenge, those struggles as you're going, like saying, look, I'm not selling this out, this is going to be me 100%. What were those challenges when you're trying to open doors and they're slamming them in your face time after time?
I didn't have those challenges. Again, when I went to Hollywood, they said, okay, I had this movie guy with Matt Black on the first play, because I was exhausted. I was doing all these shows every year. I was selling places out. I mean, you could not outwork me, man. End to end, 8, 9 shows a week. I was on stage, every city, hello, every night, just like, okay, I hello myself, today I'm dead. And so I'm doing all of these shows, and it's like, I gotta find another way to reach these people. So I go to Hollywood, and they didn't know who I was. I couldn't walk down the street in certain cities without people screaming my name, or screaming Medea or something. But got to Hollywood, they're like, no, we're not gonna do it. And then I went to another studio, like, no, we're gonna change, we wanna change this and this and that. So I'm not doing that. Because I had the power of us. I walked in that room as one, but I wasn't alone, because I had all of us with me, right? So I said I was going to go and do it and put it on DVD and sell it out of my trunk, like I had been selling the DVDs of all the plays. Even though they were bootlegging like crazy, I was still going to go for it.
There's some children here that don't know what DVDs are.
It's this little disc though. So anyway, I got a call from Lionsgate. I told them, listen, I'm going to write it, I'm going to own it, I'll put up half the money, and I'm not taking any notes, and it's going to be the way I want to do it. If you don't want to do it that way, bye. And they said, okay. And it was so crazy. This guy, Mike Pasternak, white guy in the studio, he's a great guy. He was doing this, he was trying to do diversity, right? And he was leaving a restaurant, and I had done this play at the Kodak Theater, and he ran into all these black folks coming out of the theater laughing. He said, what do you guys see? They said, Tyler Perry. And they were like, he said, oh, he goes to work, and he asks all the white executives, have you heard of Tyler Perry? They're like, no. Like, this guy's so loud, you've never heard of him? Nope, never heard of him. Then he gets in front of some of the black people, the 3 that work there, and asks, have you heard of Tyler Perry? They're like, yeah, we know who he is. And it was D.L. Hughley in a meeting with him, and he said, do you know Tyler Perry? He said, the guy's huge. That's how it all started. Yeah.
So, I want to talk about the power of collaboration and working together. Not only working with BT, but like I said, you actually work with Hollywood studios from leasing your studio. So, how is that? Was it ever any awkward? Did they ever see you as competition? Or how did you approach them? Like, look, this is a good opportunity that I want you guys to film your shows and your movies at my studio lot. Like, how did that actually even come about?
I never would chase them. I never asked them to come. I knew that there was a healthy tax incentive here in Georgia, and I knew that we didn't have enough stage space. But then there was something that shifted in all of our tragedy and our fighting for social injustice and the death of George Floyd. There was this incredible guilt that happened in Hollywood, where people were saying we've got to invest in more things with black people. We've got to do this, we've got to do that. And because of the strength, again, of us, I have not had to ask anyone to come. We've been all the stages have been filled and sold out for the last several years, up until the next couple of years. No sooner than one show's out, another one is coming. And again, that's to making sure it's professional, clean, it's a service that they've never had, and to say that a black person is doing that, the word gets around. When you get the opportunity, you gotta kill it.
Yeah, so, I mean, in 2020, obviously the world changed forever during COVID. And one of the things that wasn't highlighted was something that you did. You were the first to bring your people back to work, right? Black actors, black producers, directors, your entire team. And so, from that standpoint, and they told us when we were taking the tour, you were very intentional. You were saying to your business, like, if you're eating, you gotta make sure that your family's eating. Can you talk about the mindset of that, of making sure that your people are taken care of first?
Well, listen, I could have set it out. I had a little money saved. I would have been all right. I could have went away and just, waited for it all to be over. But then I thought about all the people that work for me, who are just, I wish y'all could meet these people, man. They're just like everybody in this room. They'll come up to me, hey, I got a house. house. Hey, I bought a car. Hey, we met on the set, we get married. Hey, our wedding is here. You know, all of this wonderful thing that happened for these people that I know would not have happened had I not been in this opportunity. So it's just so grateful. And here we are, pandemic, and nobody can work. What do you mean I gotta tell everybody they can't work? They can't, what are they gonna do with their mortgages and put their kids through college? So we set up a camp in the studio. I tested everybody, nobody left. We housed 300 people and we kept right on working. And it worked out really, really well. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. We did not have one positive case that entire time we were shooting in that moment. Yeah, not one. Everybody's watching us. Not just Blackfoot, the whole world is watching us to see if this can be done. So we got to come together. We've got to do this thing right. I'm telling you, man, we were an army that they made me so proud. They made me so proud. We had food trucks, slutty vegan sometimes there. We had food trucks. We had an open bar that we have in the evenings. We do movies on the lawn, and we lived in the whole camp. It was really great, really great.
Let me ask you this, because you strike me as someone who is vitally important for you to have independence, but I'm assuming that you got offered sometimes to sell your independence. Okay, you talk about that. Was it tempting? Were you ever tempted? Or?
Well, listen, I got an opportunity to do a show with my agent at the time said, listen, if you're gonna do this, you gotta get your show on television. And he brought me to CBS and Chuck Lorre. He was doing 2.5 Men. He had done Roseanne, and he was going to do the Tom Perry show. And I was giving them notes and things I wanted to do on the show, and they were like, "Oh no! He's a showrunner. He's going to tell you how this goes. Can't say Jesus. Can't do this on the show. We're going to do it this way." I'm like, so I signed the deal, and I was miserable. I was like, God, please let this deal run out. So my agent called and said, Tyler, I'm sorry. He decided to do 2.5 Men. He's not going to do your show. I know this is really hard for you. I was on the phone going, yes. I was so happy because I didn't want to be in a position where I was owned, where somebody owned me, owned my content, owned what I did. And I came here to Atlanta, didn't know what the hell I was doing, said I'm going to do my own show. And I recorded 10 episodes of this little show called House of Pain. And those first 10 episodes were horrible. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But we put them on the air, and because of that same audience, I'm getting chills thinking about it because I'm so grateful for the audience. And the same audience that made me sent those ratings to #1, and now House of Pain has over 400 episodes. Those people on the show, I paid them millions and millions of dollars over the years. So that's another point to what does it feel? What do you feel? What do you feel led to do? You know, if it doesn't feel right, why are you doing it? What do you feel led to do? And listen, you can't hear God or being led in noise and chaos and a bunch of people around you and a bunch of opinions. Like I'll have people, I'll ask them, what do you think? This. Okay, great. I got all your opinions. I got the lawyers. I saw the thing. Great, thank you. I got your opinions. Then I'll go away to get clear, to see what I feel. Because what you feel is the thing that's going to bring you to a greater place in your life. So that's how that happened.
So we've seen a number of actresses and actors, start with Tyler Perry Studios and have great careers. But there's still this level of acceptance that I feel like black actors are trying to have inside of Hollywood. I wonder, from your perspective, do you feel like there's a shift from what you're doing, right? When people are watching you and you're creating. I mean, it feels like your mission is like, God, all we need is us. All we need is us. Do you feel like there's a shift happening?
Not enough. And listen, I'm the guy walking, calling all these young cats up, going, "Hey, what you doing? Let's sit down and talk." And I don't know if they think that I'm trying to teach them to be me. I don't care. You can't be me. Nobody can be me being me. I got this on lock. What I'm trying to do is give them the information and the nuggets on how you do it. This is how you make that move. This is how you transition. Because listen to me, I'm not going to go create a movie and make $1 billion and you pay me $10 million. That doesn't work for me. If I don't get half, at least 500 million of that, then we don't have a deal or a conversation. So if I can get more of us to understand that when you have that kind of talent and that kind of power, you've got to make the shift to the ownership. If you look at Steven Spielberg and George Lucas and Oprah, the way they started out, there was a shift somewhere along where they go, oh no, I'm going to Oprah didn't own her show at first. When the renegotiation came up, she's like, I'm going to get a little bit here. And listen, when you negotiate, don't try to get everything at once. I had a promoter that I worked with a long time ago. He said, eat a little, eat a long time. Try to eat all at once, that's all you're going to get. It's going to spoil. So just sometimes you have to eat a little bit at a time until you get to what you're trying to get to, and you realize that you ate a whole elephant by the time it's done.
Jim right there.
That's
So, I get inspired by, people in business like Walt Disney and Steve Jobs. But I never got to meet Walt Disney. I never had a conversation with Steve Jobs, but I met you. And I put you on that same level. And I just feel like people like that have a different type of wiring in their brain where you said something to me and I don't think you realize what you said. Because he's asking me, he's like, this is amazing. Like, what you guys have last year, I'm like, 4,000 people. He's like, this year is 12,000. He's like, where do you see it going? And I said, I think it could be as big as Essence Fest. He said, absolutely. And I'm like, where we have like multiple different locations and like 50,000 people all over the city. I'm like, so I'm telling him the whole thing. At the end of it, he said, that's it. So, what do you have in the vision board going forward? Because I know that this isn't it for you. And how do you keep that level of just thinking bigger than what anybody could even think about is possible?
For me, it wasn't even thinking about. And when I said that to you, I meant it like if you have a measurement for your life or your vision or your dream, then it ain't big enough. If your dream is the same size as somebody else's, did God tell you to do that? Because what God gives are specific dreams that are specific to you, right? So as wonderful and amazing as Essence Festival is, there's something going on here that is extremely powerful and different. And I'll tell you both this, I don't know if you fully know it yet. I really don't know if you fully know. I know you think you get it, but one day when you're my age and you sit back and you go, wow, what a moment. Because when you're in it, you can't see it. When you're in it, you can't really fully take it in. You're like, wow, we had 12,000 people. And then when you sit there and there are millions of people all around the world that are talking to this, you go, wow. And never ever despise humble beginnings. Hear me when I say this. Never despise small beginnings. I don't care if you got a little shack on the corner where you're selling hot dogs. Never despise small beginnings, because it is that kind of grind, that kind of grit that's going to take you to the next level and to the next level and to glory, to glory, to glory, to glory, to a much higher place. So I say that to both of you. As great as this is, there's more. There's more.
yes.
And unfortunately, as you go, I call it a spin theory. Like this is what happened in my life, and this was really difficult for me. It's I hit a level and everything's going well. Then I spin past to another level, and then okay, I have to adjust. And then I spin past to another level. So I spin, and every time I would spin, people would fall off, and people would fall off in a way that I'd be like, why the hell did you do that? That was so wrong. Why can't you stay? Why can't you? And I'd be mad, I'd be angry because I wanted them to get it. But when they spin and fall off, let them go. You got to know how to let them go. Because I'm telling you this, because every time you spin go high, you're going to a different altitude, and you keep trying to drag somebody up to an altitude where they can't breathe, you'll kill them, or they will kill you trying to take you down to where they can. True. So as you go, it's okay.
Gospel.
That was all Sunday. So another thing when we went to tour the studio, it's very rare that you get to see someone's vision in real life. And right, so when we toured the White House and we saw the Oval was shot, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, this vision is incredible. And then we started taking more, like going around probably a little bit more. We're starting to see like, oh, there's sets being built. So I noticed something that you got coming up next, Jazz Man's Blues.
Yes.
Now,
yes.
Let's clap it up for that.
Yes.
And everybody's saying like this is super important. This is the one that's super important. I know you wrote it in 1995, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, first thing I ever wrote, yeah.
1995, and so can you talk about the importance of getting it done at this moment in time?
A Jazz Man Blues is about a jazz singer and a Holocaust survivor and his love for this woman who was passing for white in 1947. And it's a period piece, and I had a couple opportunities to do it, but it didn't quite work out. So I had to wait, because what I realized is that I had to do more Medea and more Why Did I Get Married and more things like that, because I need success. Because in Hollywood, if you're black and you get a failure, you're out. You know, you might get 2 at the most, but if you start flopping on everything, it doesn't work. So I was really concerned about, will they get behind us enough to make it happen? So I had to wait for the right time, and timing did not come until now. As I'm watching different politics around the world and different politicians around the country, rather, who are trying to rewrite the history as if slavery didn't happen, who want to water down the very things that our children need to understand. They want to make it palatable and homogenized so that people can be okay with it. So I wanted to do this piece now because, as powerful as it is, I think landing for us to get us to understand our history is really important. So that's why now, all these numbers come down. But there'll be tours, there'll be a component of a hotel, a theater up front, there'll be a museum. So all those things are the next phases of it. So right now, that's what I'm working on.
So it'll be open up to the public.
Definitely open to the public, yeah, for sure.
When we rolled up, it felt like thematic. I'm like, this feels like a theme park. Like, this is incredible. The water fountain, the big LED screen. I'm like, wow. In my mind, I'm thinking, it's like people have to see this.
Yeah, that's a setup for what's coming. We were going to do it right before COVID hit, but I don't, again, it's about the professionalism. I need the right team. I don't want to do it wrong, because you're going to get one shot to do it right. And when people leave, I want them going, oh my God, you got to see that, right? But you don't want them going, ugh, they ain't on time, the truck's breaking down, people are not where they need to be. So I need to make sure it's right first.
Definitely enthusiastic about that, because when we was visiting, we said this has to be open to the public, like at some point, because like I said, how I was inspired, I want everybody, when it is open, everybody should pay to go see that in person, because it's motivational, and it just puts it in a perspective that whatever you can think in your mind is possible. Like, nothing is out of the reach of possibility. But before we go, I just want to, if you could just take a minute just to give some parting words for people. A lot of people are, entrepreneurs, they're coming up, they might be struggling with their business, they might have just graduated college, they're just trying to figure it out, and they came here, and they're looking for information and inspiration and motivation. What were some words that you would give to the thousands of people that's here today?
How many of you have your own business? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you want your business to be bigger? Okay, now let me ask you this. How many of you, just by raising your hand, how many of you can see it in your mind as bigger? Okay. That's going to be half the battle. There's some things here I wish you would take with you. Understanding the spin, that when people fall off, sometimes they have to. Sometimes God is taking you to a place that they cannot go. Maybe somebody you love and care deeply about. But if that person is not on the same page as you, it's okay to walk away. I know that's going to be hard for a lot of you to understand, but I feel like it needs to be said, because I've said it a few times, it keeps coming back in my mind. It's okay to walk away. But more than anything, I want you to understand this. I did not get here by not working hard, not making tremendous sacrifices, and not taking risks. I took many, many risks. If I hadn't taken them, I don't know where I would be. But everything that I was doing, every moment, every decision I made, even the ones that I thought were awful and things started to fall apart, I want to tell you this, I never failed. When I was homeless, I didn't fail. When I couldn't eat and wait for a friend to $20, I didn't fail. When I was trying to get the play up and nobody showed up, I didn't fail. Every one of those was a moment that was teaching me to be ready for when the great things come. So I don't care how dark it gets, how difficult it gets, if that thing is in you and won't let you go, like you try to walk away from it and it comes back and pulls you, That's when the dream itself starts to believe for you. I've been many times in my life where I've given up and said, I'm not going to do this anymore. God, I can't take it. I'm out. I'm going to go to the phone company, get me a job, get some benefits. I'm not going to do this anymore. But the truth of the matter is, it wouldn't let me go. That's when your dream starts to believe for you. When you've given up and the dream starts to encourage you. Somebody comes along and say, hey, what about that thing you were doing? Hey, but what about that you were doing? And the last thing I'll tell you is this, is focus on one thing. I focus on the play. Because if seeds planted everywhere and you only have one bucket of water and you're trying to water all of these seeds, then some of them are not going to grow. I focus on one, poured that water on one seed until it grew. Once it grew and became strong enough, that seed gave life to everything else I was doing. It was the play, to film, to television, to the studio, to everything else I do. One thing at a time. God bless you guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
He turned me on to this. He always looking like $1 million. Fashion me all the time.
Thank you, brother. Just wanted to bring Steve out to give him his flowers once again because he went over and above. When he said that he was going to work with us on it, he said that whatever he wanted, whatever his resources were, whatever the request was, and we went straight to the top. And he didn't say no to us. He said, all right, let me see how I can make it happen. And he made it happen, and he told us that when he made it happen, it was just a magical moment. So, Steve Harvey, man, it's a very high level of integrity that he has, and you can just tell it's real genuine. And you can tell it's real genuine when you can ask somebody like Tyler Perry to come, and there's no hassle, it's just all right, cool, I'm in. That's a relationship. That's not money. Money can't buy that type of integrity. Only you have to honor your word. You have to be a good person, and that comes from years of just doing the work. And that speaks to the kind of man that he is, and that speaks to the kind of man that he is. And we're grateful for both of these gentlemen. So give both of these gentlemen.